and Sharon came in half a day yesterday and half a day today.
Is that where the twins came from?
Or yesterday. And she's like, oh,
I'll be honest with you about it. Some of these is better if you ask them, he tells you they're terrible.
Yeah, it's amusing. I'm like, I walk through the building and everybody's like, well, you're still smiling. I'm like, I'm smiling on the outside. I'm not sure what I'm doing on the inside yet. But I'm
It's really
excited.
good because he's sweet too. But then if someone says, how do you like the twins? I don't like them.
I'm like, I'm trusting God. Whatever journey, adventure I got my seatbelt, fastened. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm just, like I said, hoping
So his
that
actions
communication
speak better than
and
words.
development with their person, and then I can focus, and I've rearranged everything, which is absolutely
I'm sure
crazy
husband
to do,
sees.
but so going.
I noticed he was having, holding on to his finger. That's wonderful. Now it's his shoulder, and that's surgery on his shoulder.
You got some reading suggestions?
I do.
I always love to pick up stuff. You excited waiting on the first game?
Oh, for the Irish, yeah.
I've been an Irish fan since I saw them play Army in the late 50s.
Oh, yeah. No, I grew up in North Central Indiana. So,
Oh, did you? Okay.
yeah, I was an Irish Catholic family, so I got my Notre Dame fan club card with my birth certificate.
I was up there a couple of years ago. We went to see the Irish play Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh kicked our rear
Oh, yeah.
ends.
No, that's back.
That was about, say, 5 or 6 years ago. Someone-
Yeah, I'm trying to remember their quarterback back then.
Gosh, I was there.
Yeah.
We sat in the end zone. Somebody had given us some tickets, me and my wife. The Psalms in Israel's worship.
Just got back
So
from
he had
this is Palm Sunday, blessed by
he tried to attach, or he attached.
But I'm really waiting to see how this quarterback situation is going to turn out.
Yeah, it's apparently the one of the surprising storylines is that the guy that is their third stringer.
That Wimbush.
has been popping and playing pretty well too.
That's
So,
what I heard because there was talk at one time about him maybe transferring
Yeah,
because the other two are going to be fighting it out.
yeah.
And people just assume that who's the guy that set out last year?
Malik Zaire.
The black dude.
Yeah. The guy that
Can't even think of his name.
Popped his ankle.
Yeah.
Like the third game.
Yeah.
That during when we.
But then I read some talk where, God, I got a blank. The guy who ended up playing the rest of the season could possibly be nominated for a Heisman.
Oh yeah, no, he played amazing.
Yeah, for a freshman.
Yeah, no.
Just walked in there like he.
Yeah, well,
Been doing it forever.
I was sure when Malik went down at Virginia that we were done, and he strutted out there and chucked that ball in.
Yeah.
It's like maybe this isn't going to be so bad after all.
I love the shape. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes.
But luckily I got here so super early, and I think she's one of the residents, they were kind enough to, especially this little boy. He's like, I'll help you. I know where you're going. It's like, oh, that's really good. A little 14-year-old knows where you're going. So it's good. Yeah, I'm excited. So hopefully, I told Robert and Joyce and Sharon that if I make it 6 months, I'm having, because I'm Hispanic, so I'm like, I'll have Mexican benefit me at my house if I make it 6 months without losing my mind. And that's okay.
I'll share some advice with the job that I see before I'm going to make mistakes. I just don't know how far yet. And so when it happens, I'm going to go, oh, there's one. And it was the best thing I did to myself because I just kept going, oh, there's one. And I just went,
I really wanted some coffee.
I brought my own.
I would have stopped at Starbucks, but I thought they had a pot here.
And it was awesome.
I thought,
Like
I
St.
thought,
Bridget.
well, I thought, well, they don't have their own pot houses. don't depend on that.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Oh, I'll know next time. Make us start having
Well, your
that.
face wasn't familiar, and the name was ringing a bell, and it was kind of like, but, okay, but I communicated because of the website, and you know, it's like, oh,
Please.
these things are really.
Have another
Somebody
try
give
out
me
of
So
this.
now I'm putting it all together.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
I've got a directions on how to make a crucifix out of it, so I'll bring it next.
Yeah,
class.
bring that.
I will.
I
You'd be
had,
surprised how many of these that you can cut off of an 8-foot high palm.
Right.
No, I wouldn't because I saw.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You said these are blessed by the Pope.
They are, they came from Palm Sunday at
Maybe
St.
bring me
Peter's
some
Square.
skills. Oh, I'd love to have been there.
It was something else. I'll show you pictures.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's we've kind of got a bucket list of places that we want to visit, Tracy. And I.
Same here.
We finally made it to Ireland back in 2012, and that was where we were both Irish and families are away from back. But we went for the Notre Dame Navy game that opened the season there, and we were there for a little over a week and went everywhere. We went to Kerry and Cork and over to Durham.
Oh, that had been a dream
Oh,
trip.
it
And
was
football too.
ridiculous, yeah. And yeah, 33,000 Americans came for the game. And so yeah, no, it was something else, and we've made some lifelong friends in the course of that trip that we are still in contact
Well,
with.
spending absolutely all of Holy Week from Palm Sunday to Easter Monday was pretty special.
Mhm. That's
We went to 5 masses with the Pope.
awesome. That's and man, I love Pope Francis. It's just awesome. Yeah, that's the next one I think we're going to do.
Oh, I would go back to Rome again.
Yeah.
I love Italy.
Yeah, that's definitely the next one up on the bucket list. Well, let's launch out in the time we've got left. If that first little bit felt a little dry, and I whenever I have taught this, I always regret having to actually talk about history a little bit, because it seems to be unless you're like just gaga for history, it ends up being. I was hoping for something a little more
Actually, I
nourishing.
like it.
Okay, good. Well, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get you into something that now that you've scratched your history itch a little bit, I'm going to get you into something that'll nourish your soul a little bit, and that'll help you to start developing some skills. Little bit of penny history on the process of psalm interpretation. The Psalms have gone through a couple of hands from the 19th century into the 20th century that have proved to be especially durable. Durable not by themselves, but really helpful if you hold them together. The big question that we want to ask, and this is presentation 3 we'll get into. The big question is, how did the Psalms function in the worship of ancient Israel? We've been talking about issues of authorship and what the authors might lend us in terms of trying to understand the meaning and a proper approach to the history of the Psalms. But I'll refer you back to what I said at the very beginning. The Psalms seem to be really dynamic and really, really fluid. They seem to have gone through not one set of hands in terms of an author wrote them, but they seem to have developed both in terms of psalms being added to the collection over time and sometimes put in the middle, sometimes put at the end. They also seem to have been added to, where an individual psalm gets expanded by additional stuff.
What's the actual time span of the Psalms between what and what?
Well, I mean, if you want to date them to David, then you start back at that's 1200 and BC. But then, depending on who you're looking at, you can have them developing continually up until in the vicinity of the years before Jesus and the disciples. And certainly there's room beyond that for small differences to creep in between the Greek edition that the early church uses and the medieval Hebrew Bible manuscripts that we have. So you've got a little bit of development, but basically think of everything kind of finding its basic canonical form, and that's a lot of wriggle room, but you need to leave the wriggle room in the century or two before Jesus. What we want to ask beyond who wrote it, when it was written, how it was written, what do their authors may or may not contribute to our understanding of Psalm. I think something far more relevant and indeed far more helpful to you and me when we think of how are we going to actually break these things open and try and understand them, and how are we going to pray them or sing them, or how are we going to bring these into our relationship with God, is to ask that big question: how do we think these psalms functioned in the life of ancient Israel? How might they have functioned in the life of the early church? Well, then I think that the two scholars in particular start to help us out, and you have to kind of read them in tandem. One is a 19th century scholar that lived just until the 1830s. This is a small work of his that you can get on Amazon for a penny or two. He has a much bigger work that is his magnum opus that I tried to check because I was thinking, I might just order one. I've read through it over a couple of years from library copies. I thought, there was somebody that reprinted it, a dozen years ago or so, and I thought, surely I'd be able to find a used copy for reasonably cheap on Amazon. The cheapest used copy, I think, was $150. And I think, I love these people, but I'm not going to just do that for show and tell. But his name is Hermann Gunkel. He's a German scholar.
Can you spell the last one?
Gunkel. And it's Hermann with two N's. And Gunkel was a part of a number of German scholars in and about the same time that adopted a discipline called form criticism, or in German is Formgeschichte. And form criticism is a discipline that is primarily concerned with genre. And we look through the Bible, and there are reoccurring patterns in different episodes, different stories, different psalms, to where you almost get the sense that there is that you're making cookies with cookie cutters, that you can pour different stuff into the cookie batter, but then when you press them out with a cookie cutter, that stuff achieves the same form or the same genre. So an example would be the parables of Jesus are a unique form of literature, and they have pretty important elements. And if you don't understand the magic of how the form or the genre works, there's a chance that you can actually misread the parable. For example, the parable of the prodigal son is one that I've been working a lot with as I've been lecturing and presenting on the Year of Mercy in different contexts. What you're always looking for in a parable is that two things are being compared to one another. The kingdom of God is being compared to a woman who lost some coins, or the kingdom of God is compared to a shepherd who has lost a sheep, or in the parable of the prodigal son, is compared to a son